Hello everyone, welcome to the Financial Prophet. I am very glad to see you here, and today we're going to discuss the all-weather portfolio, also known as the AWP. You know, the number one question I get from new Financial Prophet group members is, how do I get started with the all-weather portfolio? Or how do I transfer my positions to the AWP? Or how do I, quote, mirror the portfolio? Well, let's get into it. First, let's discuss a practical approach. For one, I would consider selling or getting rid of some of the lower quality stocks. Now, I know there are many stock suggestions out there, and we don't always pick only the winners. However, if you have a position that's been chronically underperforming for no good reason, or there are fundamental issues with the company, I would go ahead and get rid of that stock. Here at the Financial Prophet, we focus on the highest quality stocks in the sectors most likely to outperform going forward. Moreover, even with some of the more speculative positions we own in the AWP, I go out of my way to perform increased due diligence to make sure there is ample risk-reward potential. And if there's something I don't like in a company or I find something suspect, I do not hesitate. I dump the stock. We want to focus on accumulating high-quality core positions. I typically have about 10 to 15. It's also fine to have 5 to 10 high-quality core positions you have very high conviction in. Next, I like to surround my core positions with secondary holdings. These can be slightly more speculative, higher risk reward names, or other high quality stocks with a high probability of outperforming over the intermediate and long term. As far as timing goes, I would not rush in and buy all of the holdings in the AWP right away. Instead, I would purchase partial positions in stocks trading around solid entry levels, and there are many right now. However, I would still be selective about certain entry points to try to get the stocks at an attractive buy-in level. This way, it is possible to transfer many of your positions to the all-weather portfolio within several days, weeks, or months, depending on market conditions and whether we are near a level with considerable buying opportunities. Now, just so that there's no confusion, let's go over the AWP and I will explain what every row represents and how to navigate the all-weather portfolio if you are a new member of the Financial Prophet investment. So let's start with the first row here. So we're at about 78% here, and this is just basically your traditional stocks and ETFs, excluding anything that has to do with gold and silver, as well as the cryptocurrency digital asset segment. Okay. The next row illustrates the segment. So right now we're looking at the diversified technology segment, which represents roughly 50% of portfolio holdings. Next is the percentage. So the first core position that I have is Tesla. The first position is 8.6%. However, I also have another position that I purchased intra-quarterly that is 2.15%. And I also have two positions that I purchased at other instances in the quarter at about 1% each. And then we have the two gray positions. Those are the ones that I sold. So I've sold about 40% of my Tesla position around the highs at 461.26, which is registered right here in the sale price. I entered the quarter with 16,000 shares. Then I sold 6,000 shares around the high. I also hedged my position, 10,000 shares that I had left. Then I went ahead and I purchased 2,500 shares, and then I purchased 1,300 more shares and 1,200 more shares, which now gives me a position size of around roughly 13% in Tesla. So the next row, it's the company. Now we have an asterisk next to some of the companies. These I consider core positions. These are my higher conviction, something that I expect to go significantly higher, especially in the intermediate and long term. Next, we have the ticker, which is pretty self-explanatory. Also, I want to point out that some of these positions are black, and then we have the gray ones with the zeros next to them. So that means that that was a position that was sold during the quarters. It's something that I reduced in the quarter or sold off completely. Next, we have the TT score, which is the trade trigger score. This is a number scale system, very similar to the strong buy, sell, hold system, or it's my proprietary way of grading stocks. And the higher the score, the more considerable the intermediate and long-term potential is in the stock. And there's also a risk factor that also plays a role in that trade trigger score. Next, we have the number of shares that we own in a company. The next row is the starting position plus ads. This illustrates not just the starting position, but also the starting position plus all of the ads or increases that were made in the quarter. Now, the next row is our current position plus the ads and the sales. So this excludes the sales, showing us the current positions in our portfolio. Next is the price that the position was at the start of the quarter and the price that any position was purchased at intra-quarterly. In the back half of the portfolio, I have all of the positions tracked, all of the sales and all of the ads tracked very accurately, so we can always backtrack this information with our ads and sales here. Next, we have the daily change. That's pretty self-explanatory. Next, we have the current price of any given equity or position in the portfolio. Next, we have the sale price or the strike price. This section records anything that was sold intra-quarterly or was exercised during a covered call options play. It also illustrates if a covered call option was exercised. Next is the price change during the quarter. Next, we have the gain loss percentage. Next, we have the gain loss in dollar terms. And the next row is a dividend yield if the company has one. Next, we have the dividend income. Then we have active CCD, covered call information. Everything gets recorded down here in the covered call table. Next, we have the active collar or put option information. The Tesla puts that equate to about roughly $45,000 or so. Those were recorded in the previous quarter. That's why we only have 30,000 down here, because this only accounts for the AMD and the Dell puts. That is why we have a little bit of a disconnect here. The premium that we collected from selling the put options is calculated in this row, which is around $87,000 this quarter. And that also goes back into our cash position. So that about covers the much of the all-weather portfolio. Now down here, we have our bottom line. We have the diversified technology segment, which accounts for roughly 50% of holdings. We have the quote other stock segments, which are oil and energy, biotech and pharma, defense and aerospace, industrials and materials. And that's at about 28%. And we have the gold and silver mining segment, GSM segment. Right now it's at about 11% of portfolio holdings. And next we have the cryptocurrency basket. So in the beginning of the fourth quarter, we had an allocation of only about 16 million in the diversified technology segment. We had about 19 million in the quote other stock segment, and we only had about 1.7 million allocated to the cryptocurrency basket when the quarter started. And here's the actual current position that we have right now, which is about 26 million in technologies. We've decreased our other stock segment a little bit from 19 down to about 14.5 million. The GSM segment was at about 4.3 million when we started the quarter. Now it's at about 5.8 million. Now the cryptocurrency basket went all the way up from just about 1.7 million to now 7 million. Now, of course, I will reduce this segment once more gains are realized, and I feel that we are around some sort of near-term, intermediate, or potentially even a longer term top. Okay. So this is our cash position, which is a little bit negative right now. Again, that's because we're implementing a little bit of margin. The final row here illustrates that we began the quarter with $46,193,522, and now the all-weather portfolio is at $51,862,358, which equates to roughly an 11.5% gain for the quarter so far. We have all of the gains and losses broken down by sectors. The diversified technology segment has brought in nearly $1 million this quarter. The diversified other segments has outperformed, delivering nearly $2 million. The GSM segment has done very well with about $1 million in gains, and our digital asset segment has performed very well with about $1.3 million in gains this quarter. And we have a little bit of a cash increase due to the covered call income and the collar put option income. Down here we have the all-weather portfolio at the start of 2025. So we started the year close to 29 million, and now we're at nearly 52 million. So it's been an excellent year, and year-to-date return is roughly 80%, outperforming once again. Having an excellent year. Looking forward to 2026. I think that 2026 is going to be another excellent year. We are already starting to set up the portfolio for 2026 to achieve an optimal result. Well, I hope this helps explain things and helps you better understand and quickly adjust to the all-weather portfolio. Please remember that I'm always here for everyone, so please let me know if you ever have any questions. Thank you for watching, and have an amazing day.